How's everybody doing? Sweet. Look, we got a real kind of lame gap in the market today. This might be one of those days you just kind of take off and twiddle your thumbs. It's actually, I mean, it's a fairly decent size one too. You get almost 2 points on the QQQ. It's going to take out a lot of the range in the market. The last few times we've opened up pretty strong. What's ended up happening is, we end up kind of getting flushed out. The last time we had a gap about this size of 2 points, which is on the 26, we gapped up and we just ended up making lower highs like all damn day. And it felt like the market was crashing even though the market was green all day, just because like you couldn't just catch a bid on anything. This is actually easier to trade because at least you have a trend, right? It's a gap fade. But a lot of times, what'll happen, and the worst ones are like when you kind of get more like what we had on Friday, which is a gap up, and then you just sit around, twiddling your dick all day because there's nothing really going on. That's going to be, that's fun for some, but like, for others, they'd like to, actually trade. So we'll have to see how this reacts. You're not even getting much action pre-market up or down yet. So we'll have to see if there's any follow through. On a gap up day like this, what I don't want to do is kind of chase stuff for ORBs. What I'd rather do is wait and see what the first pullback's looking like. If it starts to hold at the 9 or 20 EMA or even at the VWAP and start to build, then we can kind of hop on the trend and see what's going on. But if it doesn't, because we've seen in the past too, like kind of what will happen is like, like you can gap up and then, like say you roll back to like your 9 EMA or 20 EMA, but you're in too early, like you don't have enough confirmation, then like, they just kind of get dusted off. And so, you can only put, moving averages you treat with a grain of salt, right? You really need to see like some confirmations and stuff. They're just gauges of where something could pull, but you really need to see like, you're going to need to see more than one candle confirmation to really think that the market's holding. Gap up days statistically, at least for me, are actually losers over the last, X amount of years. So there's actually, if I was smart, I would just go and watch some TV right now because like statistically I'm down a little bit on these type of days. Not all gap days, but the big gap days, those are really tricky for me, especially if there's no good gappers. If there's a bunch of good gappers, then, it doesn't matter if the market gaps or not because you can just play the earnings plays. But we don't have any good gappers today, so it is, a handful of them. It looks like all day saying this ADX is popping. So this might be one of them to kind of put on your list for today. You've got a little bit of action on this thing already. I don't know why this didn't show up on my trade ideas. I might have to fine-tune the settings here. So that one actually, I would add that to the list. So that might be some of today's heat. We'll see if this one's got some juice. On the other side of things, and I won't chase any of these things up at the open, right? So I've got YY on the list. You're kind of coming in for the third tap here. It was looking Ganar a couple days ago, but now it's starting to look a little bit better after Friday's action. I think that this one has got some juice to it. I keep this VKTX on the watch list too. You have 15 million shares in volume. It's 3 times its normal relative volume. It's coming out of this like range break. You may have some action up until the 200 SMA before it runs into a level of supply that can hold it down. Remember, trading is just about trading between levels of supply and demand, right? When you have certain levels of supply coming up overhead, that's where you want to sell into. This STNE, you know what? It's been acting like a dog for a while. It looks like they just had an offering, so that's probably why it's been acting like this. If anybody had noticed, like we've kept on the watch list for a few days, and it's like every time it spikes, it just gets faded off. Well, they just launched out like fucking 18 million shares of this thing, so that makes a lot of sense what that overhang was. Now that it's off, we'll have to see how it reacts. There are times when the stock does like a big surprise offering, the stock just gets dusted if the terms are bad. But every blue moon, if they go red to green in the pre-market and they actually hold, you may actually bounce because people have been expecting the offering, and so that's what was creating the overhang. And now that it's gone and it's lifted, it may actually continue. I don't know for sure. It could be one of those ones that gets dusted off too. I didn't actually read and see, what the pricing was and all that fun stuff, but we'll have to just trade the price action on it. It looks okay. Snappy chat, this actually looks kind of like a swing trade rather than a day trade. You've got a flag pattern here on the daily. You've got a nice trend developing. You've got only risk down to about 10.50, so you got 50 cents of risk to get this thing breaking out, and it is trending, so it does have a chance. It's not a good day trader. You know, when you trade Snappy Chat on a day trade basis, you end up getting like 5, 10, 15 cent rips. But if you're looking at like more of a swing trade basis, it could move a couple dollars for you over the course of, like, say, a week or 2 weeks or so on and so forth. Shop's got a nice pattern over here. It's got about a 3-week consolidation after this nice push. You are gapping up about $3 pre-market, so let it come back. Watch these as they pull back to the 9s, and if they start to hold, then it's going to be good to go. I've got RH on my watch list. The higher it pops, the better. So this thing, you know, we had this on the list yesterday, right? All-day trender. Man, this thing got down to 102. Let this thing pop up with the market. You know, the higher it goes, the better. But, you know, if it starts popping into, like, say, 106 to 108, you know, I'd start looking for, like, a re-roll to go green to red, right? So let it pop and then wait for, like, a lower high, and then watch it kind of roll back over. This one's got more downside into it because if you look at its daily chart, you got a really key breakdown here, and you don't really have any support till, you know, you get back down into the 80s. Obviously, it's not going to happen overnight or anything like that, but like longer term, right? So let this thing pop, and then we'll re-roll this thing, and you won't get the same action as you did on Friday with that like $15 intraday range. But I do think this has a chance to go green to red, and we just need to time it right? So let it pop, get a lower high, and then you're good to go. This PRGS acted like a dud on Friday, but it did hold its breakout bar here. So as long as the stock holds its breakout, you know, the bottom of its breakout bar, then it's still bullish. Sometimes they just don't go that first day because they run out of gas. Now we're on day 2. Maybe it starts to kind of clear out of this zone and start to build a pattern or something like that, right? It's been stuck in the zone right over here. So if it can start to clear, watch that 45 mark, right? If it can break and hold over 45, watch it start to build. You may see this thing back at $47 really, really quickly if it can break and hold over 45. So right now it's in a sandwich, right? You've got your support. You've got a little bit of like resistance here. It's just in a range, right? So you need it to push, then hold, and then go. DBD's another little small guy. It was trading actually pretty well on Friday. You got yourself a nice tight pattern. You got multiple levels of support. Price support and moving average support. You're right at a key trend line over here. If it can bust over, I think that this one can start its next leg. Man, it's been a beautiful trender this year. This has been the year, guys, of like swing trading some of these small cap stocks that have just died out, you know QTTs and some of these guys that just like fluttered out and got really back into the single digits. This has been the year where, you know, all these little bad boys have really, really gone. DBD's no different. Every year at the end of the year, that's something you should watch. There's like what's called tax loss selling, right? And so a lot of these duds, they'll bleed out into December. And then once the tax loss selling's over, they, you know, end up exploding. They used to be a big part of my strategy when I was doing more swing trading, you know, was hunting for these little guys in December once the selling's over. You would catch, like, if you took 10 of them, like 3 or 4 of them would, you know, you would get like a double or a triple out of them. You can throw 1,000 shares at each one, and, you know, next thing you know, you got yourself a nice little pizza party. ATHM, you've got a multi-test breakout over here off that 96 spot. It's pretty much a flat open for the most part. This one's got incredible range. You're at 2.8 million shares in volume on Friday, so it's at, give or take, about 3x its normal. It does about 1 million shares a day. Love this one. It's got awesome range, and in general, like, it's just a good mover. This is in the right sector too. It's in the tech stocks, and it's finally, I mean, it's been, if you think about it, the market was tanking in November, December. This one held up pretty well. It's been in a range for a long time. You know, now that it's kind of come out of this range, it may start to retrend and get back into this 120s and maybe even break out, right? The market's a lot stronger than it used to be, and it's had a lot of months of consolidation. Stocks get their power from that basing, that consolidation. It's those time periods that allow it to heal. This one looks pretty good. That's on the top of my list too. This ADX is already gone, so I'll give that a B. But ATHM, AMRN also is looking good. And then RH are really like kind of my three phase, and then the rest we'll just have to play by ear and see what the heck is going down. My friends, it's been real, it's been fun, it's been fast. Let's go make a little money today. Let's have a little fun and get going what we got to do. Hey, Danny, what's up? You know, NVIDIA looks all right, too. It's got a nice pattern, but it's gapping up $4. Like, what are we going to do with it? That's going to be a tricky one. So just be mindful. Like, if you hit NVIDIA, and NVIDIA never really works that well on strength, NVIDIA always works better on pullbacks. Watch and see, like, when it pulls back. If that VWAP starts to hold, you may be able to hop on the trend and have some fun. Guys, be good today. Thank you all, by the way, for coming to the webinar yesterday. I had a lot of fun. It was a good webinar, I think. I'll pat myself on the back. No, I'm just kidding. I think that it was a pretty good webinar. I'll post it sometime at the end of the week, probably, the webinar, Mr. YouTuber. Give me a week or two. I'll get it up at some point.